have been made. So I'm really grateful for people who have done so far. I'm grateful that people have written to me, and I want that to continue to happen. And regardless of what happens here, assuming it will be approved here and hopefully at Borough Council, I want people to continue to engage on this, because even if this gets I hope this gets put into practice and these become the policies of the council, I want people to continue to engage on what is a very important, two very important areas of our borough, and I want to know what people think about how we can make this the best place for them to live. I hope that's all right. I move the report.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. I'll formally second that report and reserve my right to speak. So open for debate and discussion. Anybody like to say anything? Councillor Thompson.
Just a very quick point. As the report says, and we all appreciate, the consultation is key. And obviously you mentioned that this will go ultimately to Borough Council. Great though Borough Council is, perhaps not the best forum sometimes to get councillors' input. So I'm just wondering, in addition to the very helpful bullet points there, and I'm particularly mindful, obviously we have a large number of new councillors for whom this is all quite new and alien and strange, particularly councillors in the wards affected. So maybe just have a thought about whether there is any other mechanisms by which councillors, in particular wards can feed into the system, especially councillors perhaps aren't quite fully au fait, despite the great induction we had with what this is all about. Just have a ponder. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Bruce is nodding his head. So do you want to say anything on that?
No, just say yes. I think that's a very good idea. I'll have a think about how we can do that. I mean, hopefully at Borough Council it will, enliven some people who may not have engaged before and talk about that. I'd be grateful if you raise that in council. Encourage your colleagues and others to. I have to make sure that we're clear on the bits that we are consulting on now, rather than everything. I think that's really important. So there may be some tightening of this, some slight tweaks to the report that you will see at Borough Council, as long as no one has any disagreement with that.
Thanks, that's really helpful. Anyone else on this? No, I can't see anyone indicating. So Cabinet's asked to note and agree. So recommendation 1 is to note, and then 2, part 1, 2, 3 to agree. Can I see all those in favour? All the voting members? Yeah, that's unanimous. So that's carried. Thank you. That'll go on to Borough Council then. So we then move on to agenda item 4, which is the parklets policy proposal, and that's Councillor Catherine Dunn.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leader. So yes, I am delighted to introduce this policy. It is something that has arisen because we've had requests from members of the public, both individuals and businesses, as to whether they could take advantage of the type of thing that they have seen happening in other boroughs, which involves an improvement to the public realm by using a space on the carriageway, a parking space that is not required for parking, and using it for something else, something a bit more pleasant. I know I have had some correspondence from members of the public on this, and people have set out their concerns. What I do hope is that this policy and the accompanying guidance should reassure people that we've thought about all these things, and everything's in place to make sure that any applications can be dealt with in a way that makes sure that there's not going to be any knock-on bad effects for anyone, should anyone wish to take advantage of this policy. So during the pandemic, we saw quite a lot of this about reclaiming the public realm, wanting to improve it as people were spending more time outside. And like other boroughs, we had put in place pavement licenses, which allowed cafes and restaurants and things to set up tables and chairs more easily outside on the pavement. Like that policy, this new one also has to balance with other users of the street. So for pavement licenses, we had to make sure that there was enough space available for everyone to get around, including in particular people, wheelchair users, and other people with other disabilities. So again, with this policy, we have to consider those sorts of things as well. I think the guidance will help us in making the right decisions. We obviously any parklet that is put in needs to be safe. It needs to not contribute to parking pressure in areas where there is already parking pressure. And I know that's one of the concerns that people have written to me about, but it is also out there in the guidance as to where it would be appropriate and where it would not be appropriate. So that being said, I recommend this policy to my colleagues on the Cabinet.
Thank you, Councillor Dunn. Councillor Sheen, I saw that you want to speak. Would you formally second it and then speak?
Yes, thank you, Leader. As Cabinet Member for Parking and indeed Parks, although not parklets, I'm very, very happy to second this delightful proposal. I think it's a wonderful proposal, and I think it's a key opportunity to do two things. A policy that's both pro-business and pro-environment, and it's not always the two marry together. I think on the one hand, it's absolutely essential. We see before us a cost of living crisis. We see recession looming, and that's going to bite businesses at their bottom lines. And I think it's very important that we work with businesses to support them in expanding their space into the public realm and in improving and enhancing their public offering. And I think that's very important. At the same time, of course, we are a borough that is looking to move with the times, look for more environmentally friendly traffic and transport solutions. Now that's very important to achieve, but we also have to recognize that people are still using cars, people still need parking spaces, and it's important to remember what this policy isn't as well as what it is. What it isn't is us going around and saying, well, we're going to rip up parking places
residents and what our businesses are requesting. We do get criticised for not doing that, and we are doing that in this case. Yeah, it isn't something necessarily that all people are going to be keen about, and something that all people, or many people perhaps, are even thinking about. But what it does do is formalise the arrangements for people who are keen on doing it, and shows to everyone that we have some thought process as a situation, can't it? Where we might be allowing as Councillor Shaheen has said, to support businesses, that outdoor is out slowly and carefully.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That's carried. Now move on to agenda item 5. Councillor Lambert, do you want to take 5 and 6 together, or do you want to do them separately? Yeah. So agenda item 5 is the trading company performance Q4, and agenda item 6 is trading company performance Q1 of 22-23. Councillor Lambert.
360, and our housing maintenance service, Koala. Then there is Lambton Homes, which provides new homes or developing them from leisure services outside the centres. Transformed the way in which Lambton Community Service. The year, Lambton Investment doubled the number of set of buildings. Financially, the year turned into a headline loss for the group. Turned in a headline loss for the group of £3.9 million, all of which related to Lambton Leisure, which of course was unable to trade for quite a lot of the year due to lockdowns, and suffered the continuing hit as people took time to feel comfortable going back into gyms. Aside from Lambton Leisure, the group made a surplus of 200k, despite the continuing challenges of COVID on the workforce, which had led to great inflation in HGV, a great shortage of HGV drivers, and a lot of people being off and having to be replaced by agency staff whilst they were busy being ill with COVID or being isolated. In summary, the companies came through an intensely challenging year in good health, with excellent customer service metrics and strong ambition for delivering excellent service and financial benefits. There's plenty of detail in the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that may arise. But I'll now talk to the Q1 2022-23 report, and particularly draw attention to the highlights on page 98. My personal highlights include the Park Ranger service, a new initiative which has been warmly welcomed by residents. The Also, the completion of the Two Bridges site in Bedfont by Lambton Development. That provides 10 homes for key workers at genuinely affordable rents and 20 homes of supported accommodation in partnership with a housing association. In what I think is a really attractive pair of buildings in what was a pretty derelict site. Also very proud of the staff at Lambton Leisure who intervened when a customer suffered a cardiac arrest. And in the words of his family, there is no question this saved his life. Financially, this quarter has gone almost precisely to plan, and the companies are forecasting a full year to be just £100,000 off break even. Though, like all businesses, the Lambton businesses face huge uncertainties with the impact of inflation on their own operations and the impact of the cost of living crisis on their residents and leisure customers. Colleagues, please note there's a typo on page 94, paragraph 4A, where the last paragraph should read, overall, the group is forecasting to make a loss of 0.1 million in 22-23. However, the impact of utilities costs, clarity on Koala commissioning and wage negotiations present a risk to this forecast. It's pleasing to see things pretty well precisely on track at this stage, with lots of developments coming forward across the services, which I look forward very much to updating in the Q2 report. For now, I refer colleagues to the detail in the report and invite any questions, following which I'll ask you to note the two reports for Q4 and Q1. And that's me done.
Thank you, Councillor Lambert. I'll formally second those reports and reserve my right to speak. Open for debate. Any questions, comments from anyone? Colleagues? Councillor Thompson.
Just very quick one. Obviously, we fully understand the deficit in the leisure because of the pandemic and the closures. Are you confident that things are now picking up? Is it back on track in terms of usage?
It is that they have a progressive target for taking on new members, which in most months they're actually beating. I think there was 1 month when they were a little bit off target, but they were way over target on swim school. It's very encouraging. The rates of the membership costs are very competitive, and the feedback that we're getting on the leisure centres is almost completely positive, and that they're very, very different from what they were when they were being run by the previous contractor. So I'm really excited by Lambton Leisure. I think it's going to be a big success. And the forecast is a break even over this year. But obviously they're losing stuff in the first months because they're still building the membership. Oh, and by the way, if you know anyone who wants to train to be a swim coach, there's a world shortage of swim coaches, and Lambton Leisure are supporting them to get trained. Yeah, I don't know if it's the world shortage, but it's a shortage in Hounslow anyway.
Thank you, Councillor Lambert. I nominate Clive and Peter. You can be swim coaches. Councillor Bath.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I can understand the challenges that you had and all the successes, but there's one thing that we probably don't talk about enough, and I did want to commend the Lambton Group for was its social impact. And there's a particular project here which I didn't actually know about until I got this portfolio, and I thought I was really impressed when I actually spoke to one of the members of staff that leads it. It's the lead employee for the program called Inspire to Work, where they work with children who are in young people in alternative provision, like Woodbridge Park Education Service. And I did speak at length at some of the sort of projects and the services that are available. And I thought, and I was really impressed. I thought it's fantastic. So I think it's important to actually mention that, because quite often we talk about all the other companies and the challenges, but we don't actually focus a little bit on the social impact, and that's really good to see. So that's what I wanted to say on that. Thank you.
Very good point, Councillor Bath, and it's certainly built into the kind of DNA of the Lambton companies that particularly Lambton Community Services, that social payback is part of what we're trying to do. Also, very much in leisure, where we're working extensively with the health service. in delivering basically public health improvement programs.
Thank you, Councillor Lambert. Thank you, Councillor Bath. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Leader. Just a quick comment on the Lambton leisure sites for the leisure centres. I think it's been really positive response from our residents for our leisure centres and what they're achieving. I think that they have been achieving their target on the membership as well, and they're doing really well. At the last board meeting, we've heard they're kind of connecting with the local communities. They're having the engagement, which was really, really important for them to have, and they're doing a lot of other activities as well within the leisure centres. And I think it's really positive to hear from the local community and residents that they are doing well. And I congratulate them on that. They have done a lot of good work in the last 3 months. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Pass that on to the Lambton board as well when you speak to them. Okay, I can see no one else indicating. So just for completeness, I'll take a vote on each agenda item, even though we've heard them together. So the recommendation on agenda item 5, the Q4 performance is to note. Can I see all those in favour? That's noted. And then for agenda item 6, Q1 performance, that's also to note. All those in favour? Noted. Excellent. Great. Last agenda item, I think, is mine. So that's the budget monitoring, which is the regular budget monitoring report that comes to council. This covers period 3. And Cabinet will note that there is an overspend on there. So we're starting to see some of the costs on inflation coming through and pressures within service as well. So we need to carry on as a Cabinet, as administration, bearing down on costs, but also ensuring that the quality of service is always maintained. That having been said, there are a number of recommendations in here around schools and SEN provision, which I would commend to Cabinet. And I move that report. Can someone, Kath, do you want to second it?
I'll second the report.
Thank you.
Right to speak.
It's been seconded. Anyone want to speak on this? Anyone? No, I can't see anyone. So the recommendation is to note A to F and then approve G to J. Can I see all those in favour, please? That is unanimous. Great. That is carried. Now, where are we? Are we done? Right. I've not had any referrals from other committees. Neither have I had any urgent business. Date of the next meeting is Tuesday, the 18th of October. Can I thank those who have tuned in? I hope you found it useful. Thank you, colleagues, officers, and those in the audience, and wish you all a good evening. Thank you.